Okay, folks, we're going to get started. We appreciate everybody waiting. Some of you have figured out by now the high school didn't have air conditioning, so that's why we ended up moving over to the middle school, because this room was supposed to be a bit cooler. So thank you for bearing with us. I know we're starting later than we normally would. The appointed hour having arrived, a quorum being present, we do at current count have 98 people. Our quorum is 50. We're going to call the continued annual town meeting to order first. So we're going to do them in reverse of the order they originally were. We're going to do annual first and then special when the annual is over. The time is 7:59. I'm going to have the town clerk come forward to read the warning and the return.
Warrant for the annual town meeting, Town of Freetown, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Monday, June 7, 2021, at 7:30 p.m., Apponequet Regional High School Gymnasium, 100 Howland Road, Lakeville, Mass. 02347, Bristol County. To either of the constables of the Town of Freetown, greeting. In the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of the Town of Freetown who are qualified to vote in the elections and town affairs to meet at Apponequet Regional High School, 100 Howland Road, Lakeville, Massachusetts, on Monday, the 7th day of June 2021 at 7:30 p.m. Then and there to act on the following articles. And you are hereby directed to serve this warrant by posting attested copies thereof at the following places: the Assonet Post Office, the East Freetown Post Office, Junior's Convenience Store in Assonet, the Freetown Town Hall, the Freetown Communications Center, and Freetown Fire Rescue Station number 3. Hereof fail not, and make return of the original warrant with your doings thereon immediately after making service thereof to the town clerk of the Town of Freetown, Massachusetts. Given under our hands and seal of the Town of Freetown, this 19th day of May, Anno Domini 2021. We are aware that there was an error in printing of the warrant. It had read the 2nd day of June, but it should have read the 19th of May. Signed, the Town of Freetown Board of Selectmen, Trevor R. Matthews, George L. Grunwald, and Jared C. Zager. To the Town Clerk, Town of Freetown, Massachusetts, May 19th, 2021. I have this day posted attested copies of this warrant in the designated places described herein. In Assonet, the Assonet Post Office, Junior's Convenience Store, the Freetown Town Hall. In East Freetown, the East Freetown Post Office, Fire Station number 3, and the Freetown Communications Center. Signed, Carlton E. Abbott, Jr., Constable.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, if we have to do any hand-counted votes, that's what we have the orange ticket for, will be for this meeting. It should match the cover of the warrant. If we have to do any hand-counted votes, you'll just hold this up. That'll be how you're counted. Before we start into the annual town meeting, I was asked, because we didn't have a lot of turnout last year, because of the way we did the meeting, we had it outdoors, and because we've had a lot of turnover in some of the folks that are usually up at the front, just to let you know who some of the people that are up here and have brought tonight's program to you are. The first person I want to actually acknowledge, and this will only take a couple of minutes, so please bear with me. The first person I want to acknowledge was not acknowledged last fall, but retired in December after about 20 years, and that was Jackie Brown, our former town clerk, who is now a voter like everyone else. Replacing Jackie, under her strong guidance, is Cheryl Estrella, who was our new town clerk you heard from a little while ago. To Cheryl's right, Mark Rich is our town council. The selectmen are sitting in the front row. Our now senior selectman, having been on the board the longest, is George Grunwald. Trevor Matthews joined us last year. Jared Zager joined us this year. Our new town administrator, who joined us in January, is Peter Jankowski, all the way down the end. Hiding off to the side of Peter is Kim Fales, the town accountant. And then we have the Finance Committee. The chairman, Gary Martin, is seated up here on the stage. Over in the front row, we have Katie Kalita, Margaret French, and Ken Wilkins. And not with us tonight from the Finance Committee are Bob Alderson, Emily Doers, and Christine Dupers. If you don't show up, you don't get applause. I don't know what to say. If you have a cell phone, please make sure that it's on silent or at least vibrate. Just a reminder, if anybody's going to speak during the meeting, the microphone for the general public to speak is on the tier between the two tiers of seats all the way over to my right, your left. If you want to speak, just go line up by the microphone. We'll call you in order. If you do come to the microphone, you need to give your name, and you need to at least give your general residence. A lot of people don't want to say their address. You can say Asona, East Freetown, that's fine. You want to have this orange ticket because only voters are entitled to speak, with the one exception that if we have a discussion about the trash, there will be somebody here from Republic who will be able just to answer some questions. He's not a voter, but people should have information when they're going to vote. For the annual town meeting, all of the articles that we deal with tonight will be funded from taxation unless we specify otherwise. And with that, we're going to get right into Article 1. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer such sums of money as may be necessary to defray the town charges for the fiscal year 2022, viz. General government, public safety, health and human services, public works, education, culture and recreation, interest and principal debt, townwide fueling and unclassified, SERPET assessment, retirement, insurances, Medicare and transfers, capital equipment, capital building and other property improvements, and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen, and it requires a majority vote. You have a separate budget handout that you'll want to refer to now as we go through the budget. As we go through the budget, for each department, you will hear what the department has requested and what the Finance Committee is recommending. If you disagree with the recommendation of the Finance Committee, or if you have general questions, you want to call out hold up your vote ticket so I can see who's putting the hold, and at the end of each section, we will adopt the Finance Committee's recommendations for lines that are not on hold, and then we will go back and do the holds individually. If there are sections where the Finance Committee recommendation and the request are the same, I'll let you know that. I'll only read the number once. I'll let you know also there are some instances where the Finance Committee has changed its recommendations since the budget was printed, so I'll let you know also when that happens. The first budget section that we are going to go through is general government. And with the exception of one line, which I will point out to you, the requests and recommendations are the same, so you'll hear the number only once. 114, the town moderator, personnel $450, expenses $20, total $470. 122, the Board of Selectmen, for personnel $21,600, for expenses $14,500, for a total of $36,100. 125, the town administrator, for personnel, $223,000, for overtime, $500, for expenses, $26,120, for a total of $249,620. For the Finance Committee, line 131, for personnel, $2,250, for expenses, $3,600, for a total of $5,850. 132, the Reserve Fund, $125,000. 135, the town accountant, for personnel, $118,646. For expenses, $6,100, for a total of $124,746. Hold on accountant. For the town audit, $19,750. For the Board of Assessors, 141, for personnel, $71,375. For expenses, $22,580, for a total of $93,955. For the assessor's revaluation, line 142, for expenses, $68,220. 145, the town treasurer, which includes the tax collector, for personnel, $165,782. For expenses, $39,958.30. For a total of $205,740.30. Hold on the treasurer and collector. For legal fees, $135,000. For management information systems, line 155, $55,105. Line 158, for tax title foreclosures, $15,500. 161, the town clerk, for personnel, $101,859.90. For expenses, $8,395, for a total of $110,254.90. Hold. For primaries and elections, for personnel, $6,561.75. For expenses, $20,230, for a total of $26,791.75. For registration, for personnel, $1,775. For expenses, $8,000, for a total of $9,775. For the Conservation Commission, for personnel, $12,817. For expenses, $4,774, for a total of $17,591. Hold on the Conservation Commission. For the Planning Board, line 175, for personnel, $47,174.40. For overtime, $1,512. For expenses, $7,600, for a total of $56,286.40. Hold. For the Zoning Board of Appeals, for personnel, $1,950. Expenses, $600, for a total of $2,550. For the Soil Conservation Board, for personnel, $700. For expenses, $400, for a total of $1,100. For the Economic Development Committee, for personnel, $1,500. For expenses, $500, for a total of $2,000. Public Buildings and Property Maintenance. This is one where there has been a change. The Finance Committee is now recommending the requested amount, so you will hear the numbers only once. For personnel, $33,457. For overtime, $131.40. For expenses, $294,999. That is also now the recommended number, for a total of $328,587.40. Hold. For property insurance, $84,300. For the annual town report, which you could have picked up on the way in, and if you haven't, you can pick up on the way out, $2,500. For the DEP hazardous materials assessment, $0. I will now ask for a motion to adopt the Finance Committee's recommended figures for the lines which are not on hold. Motion is made and seconded to adopt the Finance Committee's budget for the lines that are not on hold. I'll remind you now the holds are on the town accountant, the treasurer and tax collector, the town clerk, the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, and Public Buildings and Property Maintenance. All those in favor of the adoption of the budgets not on hold, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? The lines not on hold have been adopted unanimously. We'll now go back to the lines that are on hold, so we're going back to line 135, which is the town accountant. If somebody has a question or would like to make a change on that line, come on down to the microphone.
I actually held all of those. I just want to say that I have one question for all of them with the exception of public property, so we kind of lump them all together here.
Okay.
I put a hold on all the ones that have union positions. I think I might have missed one along the way, but it's a general question. To these, the recommended numbers, those include any sort of cost of living increases? Because I know that this is the next fiscal year will be a new contract here.
Okay, I'm going to throw that question first to the town administrator.
The Board of Selectmen. Thank you. The Board of Selectmen have not approved any of the CBAs to be forwarded yet. So they're all technically still in negotiations.
So the dollar amounts are not in that dollar amount that was in the recommendations?
That's my impression.
Okay, and so just for future reference, is the voters get a chance to approve those CBAs, or do those not go into on the warrant?
We'll throw that one to the town's attorney.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Ultimately, once the collective bargaining agreements have been authorized and negotiated, they would have to come back to town meeting for appropriation of the first year cost items, and that would then essentially serve as the approval of town meeting for those collective bargaining agreements. So, as mentioned by the town administrator already, the numbers you have here don't reflect what would have not been completed yet. Once those collective bargaining agreements are completed, then town meeting would have the ability to appropriate for the first year, which would satisfy the requirement for approval by town meeting.
Okay. Then I withdraw all my holds on all those items, except for public properties.
Okay, so at this time, I'll just ask, that was the town accountant. Also on hold were the treasurer, the town clerk, the conservation commission, and the planning board. Did anybody else have any questions on any of those budgets? Okay, seeing none, I would ask now for a motion to adopt the finance committee's recommendation for town accountant, treasurer, town clerk, conservation commission, and planning board. Somebody can just say so moved. Okay, we have that motion and second. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Those figures are adopted unanimously. The remaining hold is on public buildings and property maintenance. Does anybody want to speak on public buildings and property maintenance?
Sorry about that, wasn't paying attention. So I know that in previous meetings, there was some talks about the lots of changes of town beach and the boat ramp and whatnot. I just don't know which budget, the dollar amounts that's going to be expended for that, if it ended up in public properties or if it's in a later budget.
All right, that one I'm going to throw to the finance committee, or Peter, if you'd like to take it too.
Yeah. We had thought previously that we would put it into building, public building and property maintenance, but tonight we changed our minds and put it back into the health department.
Okay, so that's the reason for the change and recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
So then there'll be a corresponding change in the health budget to reflect that also. Okay. Are there any additional questions on public buildings or property maintenance? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the Finance Committee's recommended figure. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? Adopted unanimously. We move on now to public safety, which starts with 210, the police department. This will be one again where the Finance Committee altered their recommendation. So on the personnel line, there was a whole whopping $20 difference, and everybody now agrees on that $20. For the police department, for overtime, $208,116.71. For personnel, $1,926,305.94. Expenses, $174,456.72, for a total of $2,308,859.37. For the communications center, for overtime, $42,615.04. Oh, I'm sorry, I read the wrong total on the police. The police total should be $2,308,879.37. There's that pesky $20 again. For the communications center, for overtime, $42,615.04. For personnel, $338,567.08. For expenses, $50,013, for a total of $431,195.12. For the fire department, again, there was a change here because there was an agreement reached. So for overtime, $160,558. For personnel, $1,132,463. For expenses, $137,150. For a total of $1,430,171 even. For the building department, there was again a small change. For personnel, the requested figure is $122,820. The recommended figure is $119,220. For expenses, the request and recommendation match at $9,600 for a total of $128,820. For the gas inspector, $6,000. For the plumbing inspector, $6,000. For the sealer of weights and measures, $4,000. For the electrical inspectors, $18,000. For civil defense, the requested figure was $2,639. The recommended figure is $2,691.78. Expenses are $17,000 for a total requested budget of $19,639 and a total recommended budget of $19,691.78. For the animal control officer, the requested personnel amount is $36,700. The recommended figure is $37,425. Expenses match at $9,060 for a total request of $45,760 and a total recommendation of $46,485.
I think those were the ones that we changed. We raised those to match the select.
Yeah, I have the recommendation is $37,425.
Oh, okay.
Is somebody putting a hold on the animal inspector? I'm sorry. Okay, we do have a hold on that. Animal control officers, not the animal inspector anymore. For forestry, which is the tree warden, for personnel, $13,200. For expenses, $19,890. For a total request and recommendation of $33,090. And for the harbor master, $100. So I will now ask for a motion to adopt the Finance Committee's recommendation for the public safety budgets other than the animal control officer, which is on hold.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Those lines are adopted unanimously. We will now go back to the animal control officer who has a hold.
Actually, now that I look at it, I might have misread it. The request and the recommendation, do those match for this?
No, the recommendation is higher now. The request is $36,700. The Finance Committee is recommending $37,425.
Okay, you guys just explain that a little bit?
I'll throw that to the
Yeah,
Finance
I
Committee.
think that's just the 2% cost of living increase that was agreed upon by the selectmen after the budgets were submitted.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions on that line? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the recommended figures, $37,425, $9,060, for a total of $46,485. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That is adopted unanimously. For the education budgets, they all match, so this one might go a little bit faster. For the school committee, $4,424. For the Freetown Lakeville Regional School District Regional Assessment for Education, $11,915,621. For the Freetown Lakeville Regional School District Assessment for Transportation, $207,762. For the Freetown Lakeville District Other Charges, $0. For regional debt for the new middle school, the building we're in right now, $102,626. For regional debt for the Georgia Rustin Intermediate School, which is the old middle school, $76,928. For regional debt for pool rehabilitation, $27,249. For regional debt for athletic facilities, $7,855. For a total Freetown Lakeville regional budget of $12,338,041. For Bristol County Agricultural High School, $105,559.92. For the Old Colony Regional Vocational Technical High School assessment, $1,149,588. For the Bristol Plymouth Regional Vocational Technical School assessment, $267,765. I heard no hold, so I'll ask for a motion to adopt the recommended figures for the education budget. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The education budgets are adopted unanimously. For the public works budget, gee, I wonder if there'll be a hold here. For the highway department, for overtime, $2,000. For personnel, $445,416. For expenses, $95,810. For a total request and recommendation of $543,226. For snow and ice removal, for overtime, $20,000. For expenses, $130,000. For a total request and recommendation of $150,000. For street lamps, request and recommendation, $5,000. For trash collection and disposal, nobody jumped the gun on that one. The request is $669,125. The recommendation is $622,125. Any holds? For the transfer station, for personnel, $125,811.84. For expenses, $162,100, for a total of $287,911.84. Request and recommendation. For the Cemetery Commission, for personnel, $8,269. For expenses, $27,195. For a total request and recommendation of $35,464. I will at this time ask for a motion to adopt the recommended budgets for the lines that are not on hold, which is the lines other than trash collection. Motion made and seconded to adopt the recommended figures other than trash collection and disposal. All those in favor? Aye. All opposed? I think I heard one no, so we're going to call that adopted by the majority. We will now go back to our hold, which is on trash collection and disposal. I am going to first offer the microphone to the Finance Committee, as I believe they had something they would like to say about their recommendation.
Okay, so there were two bids for the trash collection. As most of you know, the bid that was accepted by the Board of Selectmen is over the course of 3 years, $232,425 higher than the bid that was the lowest bid, and that's 19.2% higher. In the first year, it's a $67,000 difference, roughly. In the second year, it's roughly $75,000, and in the third year, it's about $90,500. Yeah, the selectmen, I'm sure, have their reasons for wanting to go with the Borges company. And the Finance Committee doesn't really take any position as to which company should get the contract, but we feel that paying an extra 19% is excessive. We lowered the recommendation to $20,275 above Republic's bid, but $47,000 below Borges's bid. And we feel that if Borges can come close to matching Republic, we feel that would be the responsible thing for the town to do. In addition, there's some unknowns about the contract with Borges. The cost of recycling is up in the air. We think that would probably be a bit higher. But one of the key things is that with Borges's contract, there's a fuel adjustment charge, which, for example, if diesel fuel hits about $4 a gallon, it's currently about $3.18. If it hits $4 a gallon, it will cost the town roughly an extra $10,000 a year. And the way diesel fuel is going, and the way all petroleum prices are going, we feel that that's a big unknown, which is likely to make Borges's bid even less competitive. I believe that the bid from Republic does not include a fuel surcharge, so there's a bigger difference than it appears. And I think that's about what I have to say.
Okay. The selectmen are the Board of Health, so either the selectmen as the Board of Health or the town administrator, if anybody would like to respond to that from your position, and then we can go off to everybody else. The selectmen are drawing straws to see who gets the short straw.
The new guy gets.
New guy gets the short straw.
All right, so our reason wasn't necessarily 100% driven financially. As anyone who lives in town can attest, we have a lot of problems with the current trash collection. And we really decided to try, well, I can't say we, I can say that for me personally, sometimes getting the less amount doesn't necessarily mean the best product, right? So we went with the company who we had before, who we had zero issues with. Went above and beyond, and sometimes you gotta pay a little bit more to get a little bit more. So I'm completely okay with that, and I 100% support Borges and want them back on board.
Trevor, George, I know you were a dissenting vote. Would you like to give your position?
Absolutely. I would beg to differ on the quality of the service. In the years that precede us here, I have not really seen any issues. In the last year, there may have been some issues because of COVID and staffing. There were some complaints from some people. Chris, are you here? Would you come down and...
I would like to.
Hold on one moment. Sir, are you a voter in town? Okay, you do need to be in the second row then. You can't be sitting with the voters. Second row down here. So George, as a non-voter, he can answer specific questions, or if there's a specific topic you'd like him to address.
Okay. I would like Chris to address the complaints. No, Chris?
No, you can come down here for this microphone.
To explain the numbers and the reason for some of the complaints that we've had and what action you've taken.
You just need to give your full name so the town clerk can record you.
Sure, thank you. Chris Massara for Public Services. Business address is 1080 Airport Road, Fall River, Massachusetts. So first off, Republic Services has been a partner in town for approaching almost 5 years, and it's something we're very proud of. We have a lot of employees that live in town as well and work in the community as well. As far as the complaints, a couple of things. I think one of the big things we need to really consider as we go back and look over, say, 2020, it was a COVID world pandemic.
I'd just like you to step a little bit closer.
It was a world pandemic that certainly had an impact not only on our industry and our company, but certainly I think every company out there. We certainly don't want that to define us, but we did a pretty good job considering the challenges in the industry and in the world. One of the things I did was I really wanted to kind of validate what were the calls. So I actually have the call log from the Department of Health, from the Board of Health. And I added up all the calls that came in 2020. It was 135 calls. I think the thing, you have to put that in perspective, is we have roughly 6,000 collection points a week with trash and recycling in the town. And when you start to think about only getting 100 or a couple hundred calls in the course of a year, that's still pretty good. We know we weren't perfect, but as we look today, as we've kind of come out of the COVID era, thank God, we're averaging only a couple of calls a week. That's kind of, things have improved and things have gotten better. So again, we certainly don't want COVID to define us with that.
Brian, you and Tim have been very patient, but I just want to ask, Mr. Borges is here also, if you'd like to say anything at this time in rebuttal, I think that would be fair. If not, I'll pass it off to the people in line. Right over there. Brian, you will be next, I promise.
I'll make it short. I still service the town of on site through the whole pandemic, never a missed day. No interruptions at all. From the 60s until I lost the job, never a missed day, never left trash on the street, not once. Pandemic, we kept working. Got it done 100% every single day.
All right. Now, Brian Miller,
There you go.
Six Flags Swamp Road.
No, we all know each other, but we're gonna do.
So, my problem with the Republic representative that is here today, when he says that there's many people that live in town, they didn't send anybody that lived in town to talk at this meeting though. The thing is that you said you don't want COVID to define yourself, but then you made excuses for every issue because of COVID. So you used your exact reason to define, do the math on that. My understanding is that when I got here in 2015, we had Borges, I had no issues with them. I then had no issues with Republic either, but I would much rather have a local place taking care of it that I know has handled it before, that many people in town that I know that have lived here for a long time have said that they really trust Borges. I do find that it is a little bit interesting that I found out today that when Republic outbid or underbid the job in 2016, there was then a discrepancy of about $400,000 in that figure over the course of these years. Now, does anybody have any? That's some information that I heard, and this is the only place apparently that we can ever get information sorted out. So, does anybody have an answer to that $400,000 discrepancy that happened from when they put in their contract bid in 2016 and undercut Borges, and then asked us for $400,000 more? Now, I understand there's a fuel issue there. Is that what the issue was, or was it something else? Or did it not happen at all?
I'm not sure that any of the current town officers were here when that happened. So, gentleman, Chris from, Mr. Becerra from Republic, if you have an answer to that.
Hi, so I really don't know what he's referring to. So the way the bid process worked it's almost 5 years ago, we submitted a bid over the term of 3 years, and then there was 2 one-year extensions. The cost that we billed the town was exactly what we bid on it. So I'm not sure what he's really referring to in terms of $400,000. The only difference that it could be was the recycling market changed. The town at one point had a direct contract with a company called with We Care, where it was the town's contract with We Care, where the hauler just dropped the material at We Care billed the town. We Care went out of business. Subsequently, what happened was commodity markets, recycling markets collapsed. Most of the outbound material in this country was going to China, and China closed. So the commodity markets went crazy, so the cost for recycling went higher in terms of the commodity. But that's not anything to do with our bid at all. So we built the town what was according to what we issued 5 years ago.
So how was recycling out? So you're saying the recycling is separate from the trash then, in this pricing?
No, the collection is not. So the collection at the curb
When
is
you forecast the price, don't you look at commodity pricing and what could happen with the forecasting of it?
We do, and the way it works is, whether it's us or Borges or anybody, is whatever the commodity cost is that month, it's a commodity moves.
Right.
That charge is just simply passed over to the town.
Right, but so you're saying that the bid that you put in was for how much this year?
This year?
For this term, because we're looking at 660,000, I believe, for Borges, but what was your number?
The 3-year price was $1,210,000 is us. That's 3-year total.
Okay, so now, you're saying that you wouldn't come back again and reduce the price or raise the price or anything if the commodity market changes? Because
no, that's
China, the relationship with them is different, so they used to take our recycling, but now that they're not taking the recycling, we have these recycling piling up in facilities places all around the country. Now, my initial argument was that a corporation could handle that, but I've been reassured by Borges tonight that he has handled it and will continue to handle it in the proper way. So it leaves me to wonder.
Hold on, you're asking like 3 different questions.
Yeah, I know.
Let him jump in and answer.
So let me answer the first question. So the 1.21 million over 3 years, that's a fixed price, doesn't change. The commodity cost per ton, depending on what the market is, will change based on the market. And the way we bid it, and so did Borges, is the same way. Whatever they get charged, they take it to a third party, to a recycling facility. Whatever the market is in that given month, that cost per ton will be passed on to the town. Matter of fact, when we look at the RFP, ours is actually less than Borges on cost per ton. They originally bid, we bid, our base rate at the time of the bid was $80 a ton. It was 80, and Borges, I believe, was 90. They were higher than us. So his market rate is actually even higher. None of us control that market. It's a commodity market. So that number, based on the amount of tons that are collected each month, and based on the cost per ton, based on the market, would fluctuate. That has for years. This isn't anything new that we're talking about.
So the 660,000 would go up as well, just as your million would go up, is what you're saying?
The 1,221 for collection does not change. That's the cost to do the collection of the curb, to run the truck, feed the people, fuel, and so on. The recycling volume that we collect, that's in your bins, that single stream recycling volume.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I'd like to say it's come down. So when you
Did you realize that I'm speaking in terms of them both together, recycling and trash?
You gotta let him finish.
Okay, I'll talk about trash in a second. So the recycling cost, when we bid it, it was 80 a ton. Today, we're actually in the 40s. So if you look at the bill today that we send the town, not July 1 when this starts, we're actually in the 40s. So we're already significantly less than what we bid it, and that's because the market's come down, which is a good thing. As far as disposal, the trash itself, the town has a direct contract with Craig Hill. That's billed direct to the town. We don't do anything with that.
What I'm gonna do right now, Brian, if you've got more questions, just cycle back to the back of the line. I'm gonna let the next few people jump in. Tim, just remind everybody who you are and go ahead.
Tim McIntosh or something? I actually have more of a general question about, town government more so than, the public versus borders. Whose role is it to negotiate contracts? Because the way I see what the finance committee, or what you said, Mr. Martin, was kind of, you're negotiating a contract on behalf of the town. And it's my understanding that the bylaws empower the selectmen to do that. So I just didn't know if that's changed or.
I'll have the town administrator answer that. And he'll defer to town council.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, through you. I think as we know, the Finance Committee makes the recommendations on the funding, but the contracting authority goes through the board of selectmen.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Thanks.
All right, great.
Craig Borges on the Bay Shores. So I'm just going to piggyback off of what Jared said as far as the cheapest is not always the best. I know there are many people here who are probably not on social media, and so the complaints that we see as far as the public goes is really incredible. I mean, they may not all make them to the Board of Health, but they are out there. I personally don't even have my trash picked up because of it. When it ended with Borges, I said forget it because I had problems initially, but that's just me personally. The amount of money, the difference in money between Borges and them is really going to be pennies on a dollar when you break it all down over, a matter of 50 cents a week per household. And actually, I don't want to quote my exact figures, but the way I figured it comes out to about 32 cents a week to these people, okay? The town of Dayton has been using them for over 40 years, so he must be doing something right, okay? For those of you who know, myself and a bunch of volunteers, we started up the Freetown Food Pantry back in December, long before even this was an issue. And as most of you may know, we evolved into the police station now, and from the time we started that, the amount of trash that was generated from the stuff that Stop and Shop gave us and cardboard, right up until today, Mr. Borges has donated everything. in excess of 20-some dumpsters. I can call him up and Mango, they'll have new dumpsters there for all the trash, boxes, and everything, recycling, everything for us, comes and takes it immediately, okay? So, and all the people in town, you know, well, if you still stay with Republic, or you go with Peter Borges, on a Friday, when the trash is picked up, or you have a problem with your trash, are you gonna call Don Slater at Republic? Or are you gonna call Peter Borges at his house, and he'll come right down there and pick it up for you? That's what this weight and load right there, to me. So, I'll yield the floor.
I know the light's probably necessary, but this half of the stage at least is getting kind of blinded by it. Oh, okay, both halves of the stage are.
Previous question?
Go ahead. Nope, I think there's two more, and then you can come back.
David Resendes, Water Street. Everybody awake? I know we had a lot of talking here. As I am aware, the contract had been agreed upon. Am I correct? That you guys accepted Borges' bid?
I'm gonna throw that to town council, because he actually mentioned something to me about the contract a second ago, that I think would be.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I just wanted to make the point. Town meeting votes on the funding for this line item, but the decision on the contract, both who gets the contract, the terms of the contract, that's exclusively with the Board of Selectmen. So town meeting doesn't actually get to weigh in on.
My question again was, did you guys accept Borges' bid?
Just let him finish first.
Sir, thank you. So again, ultimately, the purpose of this line is to determine the funding, not who gets the contract. The contract decision remains with the Board of Selectmen.
All right,
Now, to answer your question specifically, the town administrator, please. His specific question was, had the contract already been awarded?
They have agreed to a contract. Both parties haven't signed it, please tell them. Based on
Oh, you're right, sorry.
I'm sorry. It's just, the board has negotiated a contract. We've come to terms and conditions. Has not been signed by both parties just because we must wait on funding from town meeting.
All right, so again, you guys, in essence, principle, agreed to a contract with Borges. Now, you guys are gonna take, and are attempting to take, close to $70,000 off of the budget with a small company that's a town company, and you guys, they've already absorbed amount of cost to be prepared for the contract, and now you guys, in coercion, are changing the contract. They've already invested time. They've already invested material, and now you guys are pulling part of the contract. It's just, if for the town, for us to have a reputation dealing with people outside of town, this is a slippery slope. Because if you want companies like Republic to come in, offer a product, I doubt highly that if this was on them, that they'd be very accepting of a contract reduction. That's all I have to say about it. I mean, we're a town company. We're town companies here in town. We're a small town. To do this to a local company is just, it's unethical. My opinion.
Nope. I'm just gonna, just as a point of clarification, I want to make sure folks understand the difference here. The selectmen have proposed and recommended a number that would fund fully the Borges contract. The Finance Committee has recommended a number that is lesser, that would either fully fund the Republic contract or partially fund the Borges contract. I just want to make sure folks keep that part of it clear, that the two boards are not in agreement on what the dollar amount is. Danny, go ahead.
Hi, Dan Resendes, East Freetown, Massachusetts, 55-year resident. Just a few words before everybody makes their decision. Republic, yeah, they're a reputable Fortune 500 company in 41 states with thousands upon thousands of contracts. Where do you think Freetown falls in their priority list? Moving on, let me tell you about Borges Brothers, an established company in the town, a contributor to the town, a family that's been in this town for over a century. Peter Borges and his father had this contract for 56 years, except for the 1 year it was awarded to BFI, Why was it only awarded to BFI for 1 year? Because we've made these mistakes before, and that's how we got back to Peter Borges. So 5 years ago, we awarded it to Republic. Somehow they got a 5-year contract, but nobody else has offered that. We're just voting on 3 years now. But let me tell you a little bit about Borges Brothers. Whenever you need him, he's there. He does things for this town without you asking. If you call him and you're having an event, you ask him for a dumpster, he doesn't say, well, it's going to cost you an additional $250. He says, when do you need it and where? Because he cares about the town. Many people in this room have worked for his family growing up in this town. We are a community. We are not a commodity for some Fortune 500 company. So why are we awarding this to somebody in town? Peter lives in town. His company is in town. Collectively, he probably pays $25,000 to $30,000 a year in property and excise tax, so that's going to come back to take off whatever the additional is he's charging us a year. And he's always there to be called on. Spencer Lane out in Rochester, they didn't get trash pickup for over a week during the Memorial Day weekend. It was a raccoon fest. If Peter had been called, he would have been there the next day. I can guarantee you that. I know I have 55 years experience with him. A few other things you need to keep into consideration is it came up from the Finance Committee that part of the contract they're unsure about is recycling costs. Well, we came here and we awarded Republic at a special town meeting $40,000, as Chris just pointed out, for additional recycling costs. So obviously they don't know what their recycling costs are going to be either. Peter Borges is a town member, we're a community. Keep business in town. Don't sell Freetown to a Fortune 500 company. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, folks, Lee's going to speak, then Brian has something else to say perhaps, and then at that point we'll probably move on to a vote, since there's nobody else in line. So Lee, go ahead, sir.
Lee Baumgartner, 87 Dr. Billy Road, Freetown, Mass. I think myself and Mr. Sater were on the Board of Selectmen when we put the trash out to bid the first time. We did it for one reason. We threw the taxpayers' money around like manhole covers. We watched every dime. We wanted to make sure we got a good bang for our buck. That's the job of a selectman and a finance committee person. Not to see how much money they can spend, not to call it a few cents for a little bit more. The bottom line is if this was a blind bid and one was $232,000 more than the other one, they would have laughed at the second bid, wouldn't even consider it. The job here is to measure the depth of your pockets. You want to throw money around? Throw money around. But the bottom line is, when you get your tax bill, you're going to look at it and say, why did this go up? That's all I have to say.
Brian will have the last few words, and then we'll move on to the vote. Yes.
I really think that we should end up sticking with these guys, and Borges in the end. Republic will be there down the road if we need them, but let's give them another chance, I say. They did good for us for so long. Give them another shot. And if they screw it up, which they won't, right? And then we go back to Republic. Because you guys will come back no matter what, you know that too. So I say we move to the previous question and debate and start a vote on this. Give Borges this contract that they deserve.
Brian, I get your sentiment, but you can't move the question when you're the last speaker. That's just a procedural parliamentary thing. But that's okay, because Mr. Massaro wanted to make one response, and then I am going to cut off the debate anyway with the moderator's prerogative, which I get to do, and then we'll move on from there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. You know, I actually enjoy listening to everybody's comments. It certainly puts things in perspective. But, you know, I think one of the things that I've, thought about listening to everybody is, I've heard it a couple of times, is, local company and how we're a large Fortune 500 company, and yeah, that is true. There's no doubt. We are in 41 states. We have 36,000 employees. We have all sorts of collection companies and landfills and MRFs. Yeah, you're right. We are a big company. But one of the things we pride ourselves on is we're also very local. We may carry this large republic flag, but end of the day, our operation, which is only 10 minutes from here, is made up of local people, local employees, local staff, people that work and live in this community itself. So sometimes I think, we ask you probably look beyond that large flag. There's a lot of good things that come with that too. We have a lot of resources because of that large flag that enables us to do a lot of good and positive things for the community we service. So just keep in mind we are very local. And then you also got to remember it was a fair, big process. Everybody was afforded the right to put their best foot forward, to give their best number, and entertain an open bid procedure. And that's exactly what was done. We are correct, roughly it's 232,000 on the base. It's likely roughly 250,000 when you factor in the other things the Finance Committee said. And it's a lot of money. I've been doing this job for a long time, and this is a very unique situation. I don't think I've been presented a situation where we've been roughly 20% low on a bid, and the next bidder is not offering any additional service. It's still weekly collection, trash, weekly recycling, yet willing to pay $250,000 more. So it was a very open, transparent bid process. So, I would probably ask everybody to really think about that. The last gentleman's comments were right on. It's ultimately, I think, going to affect certainly tax base. So, thank you.
We will need a motion on one number or another in order to take a vote. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to take the selectmen's recommended number, which is $669,125. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We'll do it one more time. It's loud versus soft. We're going to do it one more time with the same boom. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Nay. In my judgment, the ayes are the prevailing side for a majority vote. Does anybody question whether the ayes are the prevailing side? Okay, I have one in the back. So we will do a hand count on this. You again want to have your orange tickets. The orange tickets will be your vote. Have we sworn in the counters?
Yes.
Okay. 2 or 3? 2. Okay. So all those who are in favor of the $669,125, hold your ticket, please. This is in favor of the $669,125. This is in favor of the selectmen's number.
I've counted all of you up there.
Okay. Now, all those who are opposed to this number, and this is not necessarily voting for a different number, this is just in opposition to that number, $669,125. Please raise your tickets.
Thank you.
Okay, in favor was 56, opposed was 18, so the number 669,125 is the number that is adopted. We will move on now to the Health and Human Services budgets, which start with 510, the health inspection. Okay, there were some changes in the recommendations here as well. So, for 510 health inspection services for personnel, the requested figure is $121,559.65. The recommended number is $117,254.65. For expenses, the requested number is $30,945. The recommended number is $26,945. The total request is $152,504.65. And if my math is correct, the total recommendation is $144,249.65. I'll read those again because they're different. The recommended figures are $117,254.65 for personnel, $26,945 for expenses, and the total is the total of those two, which I scratched out as $144,249.65. Hold on health. For the Council on Aging, again.
Can you repeat those?
Yes.
Please.
This is just repeating the Board of Health. For personnel, the recommended figure is $117,254.65. For expenses, $26,945. Total $144,249.65. For the Council on Aging, the request is $149,575.80. The recommendation is $146,317.20. That again is a line that changed. The recommendation is $146,317.20. Expenses remain the same at $17,388. For a total for the Council on Aging of $163,705.20. $163,705.20. For Veteran Services, the requested figure is $12,000. The recommended figure is $12,240. For expenses, they match at $150,000. For a total request of $162,000 and a total recommendation of $162,240. For Memorial and Veterans Day, the request and recommendation are both $2,200. I will ask for a motion to accept the Finance Committee's recommendations for all of the lines except for the Board of Health, the Health Inspection Services.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Those lines are adopted unanimously. We now have a hold on the Board of Health.
So I held it initially for one reason, but I have another one based on those new recommendations. First off, where did those numbers come from? Because they seem to not match anything on the sheet here in front of us.
I can tell you the 15,000 is that same questionable 15,000 from before that came out of building maintenance.
And I have a question about that too. But
all right. I will throw these to the Finance Committee because they've got the wonky numbers.
Okay, so there was a $4,000 request that the Board of Selectmen recommended for a new filing system, but apparently that's being paid for out of grant money, so they no longer need that money in the budget. So the Finance Committee recommends removing that. Let's see. Is there, yeah, the 15,000 we've mentioned already, that's being moved from building and properties to health inspection. Is there a further discrepancy, or?
Tim, I have one follow-up question.
If there is a further discrepancy, it might be at one of those 2% COLAs, or is that not?
Well, Gary, I just want to make sure that you cut out 4,000 and change for the filing system, but you cut the money out of the personnel line. Was it supposed to come out of the expense line?
Expense, yeah.
All right, I have the personnel line is lowered by 4,400 and the expense line stayed the same.
Oh, right, okay, I got that wrong.
Kim has something to add.
I got that wrong.
The number that was read for expenses is $4,000 less than recommended, so that number is correct, I think.
Okay.
What I'm personally having an issue with is the salaries. It doesn't look like you've approved a COLA
Oh,
for that, based on, if we're actually working with the 117,25465, that does not have the COLA, that would be 1,326.34 added in for the health agent.
All right, because Kim doesn't have a microphone. Was everybody able to hear what Kim had said? Okay, so.
Michael, just for point of reference, right now we have an interim health agent, so we didn't include a 20% for that position. And the other position that office is under the union. If I remember right.
Whatever. What's the number we're going with? 117? Because.
117,254.65 is their current recommended number.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Tim, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yep, and I just had, thank you for that clarification, however enlightening that was. My other question is, can we just talk about why the beach and boat ramp are under the Board of Health and it's not a facility? Because that is not, so there's that 15,000, I just don't understand that at all.
All right, I'll have the town administrator answer that.
Previously, we haven't had any money for beaches for a while. Previously, the money was under the Board of Health years ago. I thought it best to put it back in there because that's where it originally was years ago, and it just made sense to be there. We have two folks in the office that have overseen beaches, but we didn't have that in the building. So it just made sense operationally to put the $15,000 in there with folks who have overseen beaches, testing, all that sort of stuff, rather than the building inspector at this time.
Okay. That makes sense. Thanks.
All right.
Paul Kudo, Mr. Freetown. I apologize for sounding confused. I apologize for sounding confused, but I'm looking at three different numbers. The 2022 requested budget from the department is one number. The Board of Selectmen requested, recommendation is a second number. And then the Finance Committee is the third number. I'm not sure, has something changed, or you have expenditures recommended by the Board of Selectmen at $30,000, and the Finance Committee is only going $11,945, and I didn't hear anything, so I'm totally lost where these numbers are coming from.
Sure. Before we answer, I'm just going to repeat the numbers again. The requested figure, what the department requested, 129,559.65 for personnel, 30,945 for expenses, for a total request of 152,504.65. What the Finance Committee is now recommending, they amended their recommendation at their meeting earlier this evening. For personnel, 117,254.65. For expenses, $26,945. For a total of $144,249 and
144,199.65.
thank you, I knew my math was off. 144,199.65 is the total recommendation.
Motion to accept Finance Committee's numbers. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept the Finance Committee's recommended numbers. Mr. Kudo, did that answer your question, or do you still have a question?
I was just curious as to why the
15,000 we moved from, building over to Board of Health. And then there was we actually found it to be part of a grant we share with Lakeville, and I believe the number is 4,300 and something, I think the exact number. And rather than take it out of the tax base, we're taking it out of the grant. So they both affect that line.
Some of them were just way off, and I just lost track of where we go. Thank you.
I have to admit too, I just noticed at one point that I read the Council on Aging line instead of the health line, far back in the conversation, so that probably didn't help. So our motion before us again is to adopt the Finance Committee's recommendation, which is $117,254.65 for personnel, $26,945 for expenses, for a total budget of $144,199.65. All in favor? All opposed? Adopted unanimously. We will move on to the culture budgets now. Again, when we start off with this, we're going to have one that's got a slight change in the recommendation. So for 611, the libraries, for personnel, the requested figure is $124,628.02. The recommended figure is now $125,760.76. For overtime, the numbers match at $0. For expenses, the numbers match at $43,428.62. The total request is $168,056.64. The total recommendation is $169,189.38. Hold. For the Cultural Council, the request and recommendation match at $1,500. For the Historical Commission, the request and recommendation match at $500. For the Parade and Fireworks Committee, the request and recommendation match at $0. And as a programming note for those who were not aware, this year's 4th of July was canceled again. They are hoping to bring it back next year. I will ask now for a motion to adopt the Finance Committee's recommendation on the budgets that are not on hold. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? Those lines are adopted unanimously. We will now return to the library budget, which is on hold.
Can you just explain why the discrepancy between the request and the recommendation?
Finance Committee.
Yeah, it's one of these 2% cost of living adjustments.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any further questions? All right, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the Finance Committee's recommended number on this item. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? All opposed? The recommended figures are adopted unanimously. We are on the home stretch of the budget. Debt service. There are no more discrepancies for the rest of the budget, so you'll only hear numbers once. 710, the retirement of debt for the Freetown Elementary School, principal excluded, $590,000. For the new police station, principal excluded, $500,000. For the floods of 2010, for principal non-excluded, $70,000. For a total of $1,160,000. 751, interest on long-term debt. For the Freetown Elementary School, interest excluded, $30,100. For the new police station, interest excluded, $90,000. For the floods of 2010, interest non-excluded, $2,100. For a total of $122,000. Interest on short-term debt, $0. Can I have a motion to adopt the recommended figures for debt service? Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Those items are adopted unanimously. And for the unclassified, for the SERPED assessment, $1,745.62. For retirement and pension contributions, $1,313,165. For workman's comp, $83,630. For unemployment benefits, $20,000. For health insurance, $1,717,389.67. For life insurance, $2,200. For Medicare, $70,000. For liability insurance, $54,630. For townwide fueling, $108,000. And for transfer to trust, other post-employment benefits liability, $200,000. And I have a motion to adopt the recommended figures for unclassified. Motion is made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Those items are adopted unanimously. We are now on the capital budget, which is the end of the budget. Again, the requested and recommended figures match, so you'll hear them once. For lease of existing police cruisers, this is under capital equipment, $53,556.56. For the lease of new police cruisers, $36,632.44. For the purchase of police equipment, $0. For the lease of existing fire and EMS apparatus, $213,792.04. For the lease of new fire and EMS apparatus, $251,750. For the purchase of fire and EMS equipment, $0. For leases on existing highway vehicles and equipment, $46,568.80. For leases on new highway vehicles and equipment, $0. For purchase of highway equipment, $0. For purchase of cemetery equipment, $0. For the purchase of all other equipment, $14,490. For a total capital equipment of $616,789.84. For capital building improvements, for town buildings and other property improvements, $70,000. For fire station improvements, $20,000. There being no holds on any of those lines, I will ask for a motion to adopt the recommended figures for the capital budget. Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The capital budget is adopted unanimously. We have now finished Article 1. Article 2, back to the orange warrant. On Article 2, the salaries have all been recommended at the requested amounts, just like the budget. If you have a question about one of them, shout hold. If not, we will go right along. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to fix the salary and compensation of all elected officers of the town as provided by Chapter 41, Section 108 of the General Laws as amended for the fiscal year 2022, and or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen. It requires a majority vote. The moderator, $150 per meeting. The Board of Selectmen, $6,000 per member per year. The town clerk, $65,000 per year. The Board of Assessors, $5,000 per member per year. The tree warden, $22 per hour. The highway surveyor, $72,688 per year. The regional school committee, $1,106 per member per year. The water and sewer commission, $250 per member per year. I'll ask for a motion to adopt the budget as the article as recommended. Excuse me. Motion made and seconded to adopt Article 2 as recommended. There were no holds, so I assume there's no conversation. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 2 is adopted. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to approve the sum of $1,328,463.81 to operate the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund for fiscal year 2022, with an appropriation for the following direct expenses: personnel, $93,785.81, expenses, $1,141,550, for a total of $1,235,335.81 in the Water Sewer Enterprise Fund, and the sum of $93,128 for indirect costs appropriated in the general fund as part of the omnibus budget, with all costs totaling $1,328,463.81, and supported with $90,000 from certified retained earnings, and with $1,238,463.81 from water sewer enterprise receipts, or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Water and Sewer Commission. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article. Motion is made and seconded to adopt Article 3 as read. Are there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 4, to see if the town will vote in accordance with, Article 3 was adopted unanimously. Almost forgot that part. To see if the town, Article 4, to see if the town will vote in accordance with General Laws, Chapter 115, Section 9, to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $500 for the maintenance of veterans' graves and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Cemetery Commission. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article.
Option to adopt. Second.
Motion is made and seconded to adopt Article 4 as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 4 is adopted unanimously. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $2,000 to pay for the public purpose of supporting the sexual assault and domestic violence program of the New Bedford Women's Center Incorporated and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article. So moved.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. I'll clarify, that's to adopt the article. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 5 is adopted unanimously. As a programming note, Articles 6 and 7 will be funded through the Capital Stabilization Fund, which I believe is what the Finance Committee is recommending. Is that capital stabilization for the sidewalk and the bucket truck?
Yeah, that's what Kim was recommending.
Yes, okay. So those two articles will require a 2/3 vote, not a majority vote. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $255,000 to reconstruct the sidewalk on the west side of South Main Street from High Street to Water Street, including engineering and site preparation costs and any other incidental and related costs, and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the highway surveyor. It now requires a 2/3 vote because it is coming from the Capital Stabilization Fund. The Finance Committee recommends this article and that it come from the Capital Stabilization Fund.
Motion to adopt. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 6 and to fund it through the Capital Stabilization Fund. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 6 is adopted unanimously. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $30,000 to purchase and equip a new or used bucket truck for use by the Highway Department and other departments, including any incidental or related costs, and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by petition. It now requires a 2/3 vote as it would be funded through the Capital Stabilization Fund. The Finance Committee does not recommend this article.
Motion to table. Second.
All right, motion was made and seconded to table. I'm going to ask Paul if you'll consent to change that to a motion to defeat. Table usually is not in order.
Motion to defeat.
Motion to defeat. Bob, your second still stands? Okay, motion has been made and seconded to defeat the article. Is there any discussion on the article? Chuck, go ahead.
John McNamara, 14 Mason Road. This article was submitted by some employees to purchase a bucket truck for $30,000. You can buy a used pickup truck for $30,000. I wouldn't find it very advisable to put any employees 60 feet in the air in said bucket truck. If a bucket truck wanted to be purchased by the town, I think between myself and the tree warden, we would submit a proper article for such a vehicle. So I don't think it's advisable to spend $30,000 on a vehicle like this. Between certifying people and certifying said bucket truck annually, I think you're opening up a can of worms by spending $30,000 on said truck. That's it.
To McIntosh, Tony, can the Board of Selectmen just explain why they're recommending this article?
So, Trevor, I think that's short stick for you this time.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think we are recommending Riley's personally. I'm not in this.
Oh, Trevor, just face right into the microphone.
Yeah, sorry. I did not know the information of how this even got in here, so I didn't know Chuck proposed it. I don't remember actually recommending it.
All right. So since there's a discrepancy, I am just going to poll the selectmen individually. They're not meeting, but the town meeting can do that if they support the bucket truck or not. Jared?
No.
No. Trevor?
No.
No. George? No. The Board of Selectmen does not support this article either. The Finance Committee, I assume, still does not support the article. Correct. So the motion and second before us are to defeat the article. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The article is defeated unanimously. Article 8. To see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $3,500 from the sale of cemetery lots account to be used by the Cemetery Commission for maintenance and improvements at the Assonet Burying Ground and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Cemetery Commission. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article. Motion is made and seconded to accept the article as read. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 8 is adopted unanimously. Article 9, to see if the town will vote to install one street light on pole number VZ69 or 77/69 near the Guilford H. Hathaway Library on North Main Street and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by petition. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee takes no position on this article. Motion is made and seconded to adopt Article 9. Is there any discussion?
Josh, well, know that by now. Is there any cost associated with this?
Finance Committee or Ken? Or Peter? Peter looked like he might have wanted to answer.
I would assume there's a cost. I do not know what the cost would be for a corporate head streetlight at that time. There would be a cost.
All right. Finance Committee or Ken, would you guys like to weigh in on that part at all?
Yeah, we're not aware of the cost, and it doesn't affect the budget, so we did not make a recommendation on it.
Okay. Ken, is there any way to pay for this if there is a cost? You have your own microphone now.
I do, but I don't know what to do with it.
There is no microphone training budget tonight.
It's on.
Sounds like it's fine. Yep, you're good.
Sorry. So my guess is there would be the cost of a street light, and I believe from the upgrade that we've already done for the street lights for switching them to LED, we do have extra street lights. So the cost, I believe, would be just the installation on the pole. I don't know specifically how much that would cost, but my guess is there would be enough funding within the streetlight budget to accomplish that.
Paul?
Paul Sadico, East Freetown. I'm the chairman of the Library of Trustees, and I know we've been talking about a street light to light up at night so that people coming out of the library, employees coming out, have a good sense of coverage so they can see where they're going. I don't know who put this in, but if the town wants to put one in, we've been asking for one for a while, so hopefully we vote to do this, but I don't know who submitted this on.
Okay, is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, the motion before us is to adopt Article 9 as read. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Article 9 is adopted unanimously. Article 10, to see if the town will vote in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41A, to increase the gross receipts allowance for applicants for real estate tax deferral under said Clause 41A from $20,000 to $40,000, and/or take any action relative thereto, $20,000 to $40,000. This was submitted by the Board of Assessors. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article. Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 10. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 10 is adopted unanimously. Article 11, to see if the town will vote in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41C, to increase the whole estate allowance for applicants for real estate tax exemption under said clause 41C from $28,000 to $30,000 for a single person, and from $30,000 to $35,000 for a married couple, and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Assessors. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article. Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 11. All in favor? All opposed? Article 11 is adopted unanimously. Article 12, to see if the town will vote in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 41, Section 1, to increase the number of members of the Board of Selectmen from 3 to 5, and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen to file special legislation as on file with the town clerk, to effect this change, and to authorize the general court to make clerical or editorial changes of form only to any bill so filed, unless approved in advance by the Select Board, and to authorize the Select Board to approve such revisions as fall within the public purpose of this vote, or act in any manner relating thereto, and/or take any action relative thereto.
Motion to defeat.
Hold on, I gotta finish reading it. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee takes no position on this article.
Motion to defeat.
A motion has been made and seconded to defeat the article. We'll now open for discussion.
Once again, Tim McIntosh is on it. Could the selectmen just talk a little bit about why they proposed this and why they are recommending this article?
Thank you, Tim. To be clear, it's not that we necessarily support, I know personally that I don't really support this, or I don't really have an opinion either way. I heard many people bring it up. I thought it would be something good for the town to vote on. I kind of want to see where the town felt in this. So that's why we're recommending it to be voted on more than actually recommending the article itself.
I'm going to do just the same thing I did a moment ago. I want to clarify, did the Board of Selectmen recommend the adoption of the article or just putting it on the board?
I think technically we did recommend the adoption of the article, but personally, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So as a board, they do recommend it. Trevor personally was in the negative column. Go ahead, Tim.
Okay, just as a clarification, if this passes, a 5-member board, would that still be the Board of Health?
As a technical matter, nothing in this article addresses separating the Board of Health from the Board of Selectmen. So without a further bylaw change, yes, we would have a 5-member Board of Health at this point also.
Okay, that's fine. What I figured, I just want to double check. Thanks.
Paul Kudo, East Freetown. I'm just curious as to when this, if this does pass, when would it take effect for next year?
I'm going to throw that to town council because that's going to be very much a legal question.
Thank you. As you may note from the article itself, the next step, this is the first step in the process. The next step would be the filing of special legislation with the legislature. So this would require action by the legislature to authorize, because it affects the manner of election or selection of an elected board. So it goes to state legislature would have to approve it, and then based on what's approved by the legislature, would determine when it becomes effective. So this would just be the first step in a process. Probably wouldn't be next year.
Go ahead.
Just to follow up to Selectman Matthews, I know you didn't want just the town's temperature on it, basically. Can you just say why, what would be the benefits of a 5-member board as opposed to a 3-member board?
Yeah, Tim, I think it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think part of it, is we have to spread out the responsibilities across more people so that they, each individual person can maybe spend more time. Obviously, most of us, we have other jobs and, only have so much time in the day. So we thought maybe 5 people could better handle a lot of the complex issues that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Now, that being said, 5 people have 5 different opinions. So that could be, maybe less things will get done when it comes to actually voting on stuff. And then the other issue is we do have an issue with the open meeting laws where 2 selectmen can never talk to each other because we have a quorum. So that would no longer be an issue and might make things a little more efficient if we had a 5-person board.
Thank you.
Chuck?
John Hackenberg again, sorry. Town was incorporated in 1683 with 3 selectmen. 338 years with this system that we've had. I don't know what the catalyst for the change is. It just seems like maybe another level of bureaucracy. That's all, just gonna pay.
Is there any additional discussion or questions to be had on this article? Okay, seeing none, this is, again, a little bit in reverse. This is a motion to defeat. So when I call for the yes votes, the yes votes are actually against having 5 selectmen. It is yes to keep 3 selectmen. It will be no to have 5 selectmen. So all who are in favor of keeping 3 selectmen, please say aye. Aye. All who are opposed to keeping 3 selectmen and would therefore like to have 5 selectmen, please say nay.
Nay.
All right, in my judgment, the majority is to keep 3 selectmen. Is there anyone who questions that voice vote? Seeing none, I will declare the article defeated by a majority vote. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5N, which allows the Board of Selectmen to establish a program to allow veterans to volunteer to provide services to the town in exchange for a reduction in property taxes, and further, to adopt the first adjustment in the final paragraph of said statute, thereby allowing an approved representative to volunteer for persons physically unable to provide such services, and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Assessors, the Cemetery Commission, the Building Commissioner, and the Veteran Services Officer. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article. Motion has been made and seconded to adopt the article. Article 13, is there any questions or discussion on Article 13? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 13 is adopted unanimously. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to enter into a tax-exempt lease purchase financing agreement with All American Investment Group, LLC, to acquire the following vehicles that may be financed by the issuance of debt for a term up to the following useful life of the property, to be procured as determined by the Board of Selectmen pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 21C, and further, that the sum needed to satisfy the first-year payment of this agreement be separately identified, raised, and appropriated in the capital budget section of the omnibus budget for fiscal year 2022, and/or take any action relative thereto. Police Department, police cruisers for 3 years. Fire Department, ambulance for 3 years. Fire Department, engine pumper for 4 years. This was submitted by the Chief of Police. It requires a 2/3 vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article. Motion has been made and seconded to accept Article 14. Is there any discussion or question? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 14 is adopted unanimously. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to amend the general bylaws, Article 29, revolving funds, Section 29-6, authorized revolving funds by revising the language included therein for the following revolving fund program or purpose. Department receipts to be credited to fund and representative or board entity authorized to spend, which currently reads Recreation Committee, to offset the cost of operation and maintenance of the boat ramp from fees from Long Pond boat ramp users by the Board of Health, to read as follows. Board of Selectmen, to offer the cost of operation and maintenance, to offset the cost of operation and maintenance of the boat ramp and the Freetown Town Beach from fees from Long Pond boat ramp users and Town Beach stickers by the Board of Selectmen, and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article.
Motion to amend?
Okay, what would you like your amendment to be?
Instead of revolving fund program purpose for selectmen, I would like to have that be the Open Space and Recreation Committee that would be in charge of the funds that were collected.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Oh, hold on, he's got a motion, it needs a second.
I second the motion.
Okay, the motion now is a second. What we first do is we vote on the amendment, then we go back to the original article itself. So at this time, is there any question or discussion only on changing this from Board of Selectmen to Open Space and Recreation Committee? Peter?
Right now, currently, Right now, currently, we haven't had those discussions with the open space and the Board of Selectmen. Second, it's an advisory committee. It's not a standing legal committee. It's just an ad hoc advisory committee to the Board of Selectmen. So they don't have any authorities or powers other than what's granted to the Board of Selectmen. So they wouldn't have the authority provided with this bylaw change.
Again,
Hold on a
sorry.
second. Mark, you look like you had something to say for a second.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Based upon Peter's comment, the town administrator's comment, I would raise a significant concern that obviously use of funds must be through a legally constituted body of the town and not through an advisory or ad hoc body. So if that is the situation, that the Open Space and Recreation Committee could certainly make recommendations or give guidance to the Board of Selectmen, but would not be able to accept and expend funds on behalf of the town.
Okay. Brian?
Okay, the reason, I'm on the Open Space and Recreation Committee, and I understand we are in our infancy stages. I saw this as an opportunity to make this a opportunity to put more teeth into our committee and let us have control over the funds, over the board, the boat ramp, and the town beach, since we will be the ones advising the select board on what to do. But obviously, hearing that we're not a legal stand, but I just want the town to know that we do have an Open Space and Recreation Committee that will be handling those issues. And the select board will be holding the money to help us fix these problems. So I withdraw my motion.
Okay. Ron, do you take back your second?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So that amendment is now withdrawn. That amendment is no longer under consideration. I would need now a motion either to adopt or defeat this article. Motion to adopt Article 15 as read, which keeps it as the Board of Selectmen. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 15 is adopted unanimously. We're almost there, folks. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to establish the following fiscal year spending limits for each revolving fund established under Article 29 of the general bylaws and/or take any action relative thereto. The Board of Selectmen for the annual town reports, $500. The Communication Center for alarms, $800. The Police Department for exams, $100. The Police Department for firearms safety course, $7,000. And the Recreation Committee for Long Pond, $9,000. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article. Hold on, we need some kind of motion first. Motion made and seconded to accept the article. Go ahead.
So, this Recreation Committee for Long Pond. Brian Miller again. Recreation Committee, Long Pond, this is basically what will be happening when the funds are available from the select board to give to the Recreation Committee. So is this money going, the $9,000 going to the Open Space and Recreation Committee?
My understanding, and I'll ask for a correction if I'm wrong, we used to have a committee in town called the Recreation Committee.
Okay.
And they were the ones who originated this fund. I think it's just still named that. Is that correct?
So who's getting this $9,000 then?
I believe that's correct, but I believe it's now managed through the Board of Selectmen.
So, okay.
I think because you made the change to Board of Selectmen on the previous article, there should be an amendment to make this the Board of Selectmen.
But how come this has even made its way to the warrant if there wasn't a legal entity that should be in control of the funds to begin with?
Go ahead.
I believe the Recreation Committee was a legal entity, it just hasn't been filled for quite some time.
Yeah.
Oh, so why was my previous motion to amend negated?
Because there was specifically a committee called the Recreation Committee that does not exist anymore.
Oh, okay.
That's
Open Space and Recreation Committee is not the same as the Recreation.
not the same. That was a separate, they used to run the summer park program for the kids and all that.
This is, again, I'm going to piggyback some information on this too. This is another thing that people in town need to be aware of is who's been in charge of our town beaches and boat ramps over the past 5 to 10 years and who the point figures that and how to fix things going forward because there's money that's going places that we don't know who is in charge of what.
I'm going to ask the administrator.
We're going to fix that now, though. We're going to fix that now, but...
Hold on, I'm going to ask him to answer the question he asked.
Right now, the Board of Selectmen have been for quite some time in charge of Parks and Recreation. Under Mass General Law, there's a special committee called Parks and Recreation Committee. We did not establish that, or the board did not establish that, because it's been a number of years So the thought was to have an advisory committee, get that committee up and running, see what ideas and see how that works, then convert that to a Parks and Rec. But right now, the only legal authority in the town of Freetown for Parks and Recreation is through the Board of Selectmen.
Okay then. So that should be amended then, right? Is what you're saying? Okay, so.
If I may, just to that point, and why I understand Kim's point, there's a specific bylaw that lists and names the various revolving funds, as you saw from the previous article that amended that. We don't have an article to amend that bylaw, so I recognize the point. I think that's something that will have to be taken up at a separate town meeting, because that's actually a bylaw amendment as opposed to this article only deals with the spending limits. I think it's important to recognize revolving funds, this is not like taxation, these are just the fees that come in. And so the Board of Selectmen essentially acts in place of a Parks Commission or Parks Department, as the town administrator just referenced. It probably will make sense at a future meeting to amend the bylaw as necessary to clarify this issue. But unfortunately, right now, that's not before the town, so we can't do that at this meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Again, I was just making sure that the funds were being properly secured by the requirements, so.
I think they are.
Second. My name is David, I'm from East Freetown. Also, recreation committee, Long Pond. You got the town beach over there. I'm saying, talk about fees, stickers, money, generating into the account. I'm saying, I was about to buy the town beach this past Saturday. I noticed last year, I went by there, looked at all the cars that were in the parking lot for the town beach. None of them had town stickers at all. It was 14 at the time. I went by there yesterday, this car's there, not yesterday, actually Sunday, excuse me. I went there, there was a police cruiser parked near the baseball field when I was driving in. So I went down to the beach, drove back up, I stopped, I seen the officer, hey, how you doing, have a good day? It's like, what's the situation? You actually check the stickers on these cars down at the public beach? He goes, no, I wasn't told to by the town. So he's not doing nothing. Is that true?
I'll ask the police chief to answer that if he knows the answer to that question.
No, that is not true. The officers have been directed to place parking violations. However, they're not down there all the time. We're frequently asked to go down and police the beach for dogs, bottles, and kids. It's been more than a decade. I've asked the town to respond to the issues at the boat ramp and the beach. I submitted plans. I've submitted bylaws that were adopted and policies. I believe this board and the administrator is now taking it more serious, and they have a plan. That's all I can report.
What I noticed on my Freetown, the first place that took over the state boat ramp, to me, that's kind of you're grabbing a liability there. I don't have nothing to do with it. The state manager, Freetown is involved with it. I don't know why, but now they're launching the boats with jet skis for the state boat ramp, and they're actually bringing them to the town beach over there now. You know what I mean? It's happening all the time. You can drive down there, you can see what goes on. They'll just drive down there with the cars with the trailers do, so do what you want with it, but I see no really good action being taken. I'm just saying, the park, the beach, we get to a swim, but we just take care of it.
Hold on one second. The town's attorney has something to add into the conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Actually, two things I want to add. First, just keep in mind, all we're talking about right now is the spending limit for the revolving fund. We're not discussing the actual management. That's not an issue for discussion
I just brought it up because you talk about funds, revenue, streams like that, and it's like.
Understood.
I just seen the officer yesterday, so I wasn't directed to give out any tickets. It's like, okay, what do you say?
But again, we're only talking about the revolving fund.
Yeah, I
funding.
understand. That's just had to voice my opinion. That's it.
Understood. Second point, town accountant just did point out to me, just to bring things back. So in Article 15, we amended the revolving fund for the Long Pond boat ramp, and we did make that change. I unfortunately didn't make that same connection. So the gentleman who just pointed out the issue earlier about wanting to change the identification of the committee. In fact, what would be appropriate for this article, if the gentleman wanted to make the amendment, is to amend the reference to the Recreation Committee Long Pond to now the Board of Selectmen, operation and maintenance of the boat ramp and Freetown Town Beach. So if you did want to make that amendment, that would be.
I'm saying, I was able to clarify why did Freetown.
Hold on 1 second, he's made a motion, I need to know if there's a second. Okay, so a motion has been made and seconded to amend in Article 16, Recreation Committee to say Board of Selectmen, and Long Pond to say Long Pond Boat Ramp and operation and maintenance of Long Pond Boat Ramp and Freetown Town Beach. We're now discussing for a moment only that specific change. So is there any discussion or question only on that wording change? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? That change is adopted by the majority. There was one no. We are now back to discussing, just the article in general. Dan.
My name is Donald LeBlanc. I go by Dan, 148 County Road, East Freetown. I just wanted to bring up a point. I've been here 36, 37 years in town regarding the recreation department that we used to have. The budget back then, when I first moved to town, was $100 a year. The last chairman of that department was a gentleman by the name of Gerald Richards, who now lives in Florida. I was heavily involved in the building of Central Park, the ball field. I was one of the 6 men in the committee that built that complex. We put $1 million into doing that. One of the reasons why we did that was because we no longer had a recreation department. And our plan at the time was to have the proceeds from that snack shack to go into helping develop that field, the KRR complex, the other ball field.
The Long Pond fields?
The Long Pond fields, but also the, we have an equal flagpole.
Hathaway Park.
Hathaway Park, sorry. But our plan was to do that, was to develop funds in order to support that without having to go to the town to do that. Unfortunately, what's happened today is the Freetown Youth Athletic Association is now the Freetown Lakeville Youth Athletic Association. So we are now partnered with Lakeville, with all of our bar fields. If you have a kid in town or a grandchild in town, they play in Lakeville at Ted Williams Camp, and they also play at KRR or Long Pond or at the Fenway Fields. But we did have a department. And because the budget was so small, we couldn't do anything with it, it folded. And that, hence, what's happened was this. But that ball field was built to support that, and unfortunately, that's not been the case. When the committee was disbanded, things changed. Okay, but we did have a committee, and now it's gone.
Is there any additional discussion or questions on Article 16? Okay, hearing none, we would now be voting on adopting Article 16 with the amendment, the wording change we adopted a few moments ago. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 16 is adopted unanimously as amended. Article 17, to see if the town will vote to amend the Town of Freetown Protective Bylaws, Article 11, zoning bylaws, by deleting Section 11.11 in its entirety and replacing it with the new Section 11.11 on file with the town clerk's office and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the planning board. It requires a 2/3 vote. The Finance Committee takes no position on this article. The Planning Board recommends this article. The Planning Board, because this is a zoning article, is required to make a recommendation, and they do recommend that you adopt this article. We have the planning technician here. Is there anything that you have to add before we open it up? Okay.
Niels McKay, planning technician. Just like to say that FEMA requires these changes to be made, and if they're not made, then no one in the town can get flood insurance.
So this is related to the flood maps?
Yes.
Motion to adopt and a second. Is there any discussion or questions on this article? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 17 is adopted unanimously. I would now ask for a motion to take Article 20 out of order. Article 20 was a late addition to the warrant and needs to be voted on before 18 and 19. A motion's been made and seconded to accept the offer of taking Article 20 before Article 18. Thank you. Is there any discussion on moving this article? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? That motion is adopted unanimously. Article 20, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $13,800 for infrastructure improvements for the Council on Aging building, $8,800 of which will be expended for electrical generator relocation, and $5,000 of which will to be expended for water line relocation, including all incidental and related costs and expenses, or take any other action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article. Somebody's going to make a motion. Motion has been made and seconded to adopt Article 20 as read. Town Administrator has discussion.
No. These are services that presently run through the old police station to the COA, so we're trying to remove them from the old police station, have a direct service to the COA government.
Okay. Is there any other discussion or questions on Article 20? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 20 has been adopted unanimously. Article 18, thank you. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of blank for the purpose of supplementing the capital stabilization fund and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends a number. Okay. The Finance Committee is recommending $75,000. Now, I heard someone say 2/3. Is that, does the warrant say 2/3? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. So it's very easy to put money in the bank. It's very hard to take it out of the bank. Article 18, again, the Finance Committee is recommending $75,000. Would anybody like to make that as a motion? Motion is made and seconded to adopt Article 18 in that amount of $75,000. Is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 18 is adopted unanimously in the amount of $75,000. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of blank for the purpose of supplementing the stabilization fund and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends $11,000. Motion is made and seconded to adopt $11,000. Now, before we vote on this, everybody's very excited because this is the last article. Remember, we haven't done the special town meeting yet. Don't fly out of here at record speed. Is there any discussion on Article 19? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 19 is adopted unanimously in the amount of $11,000. I need a motion to adjourn the annual town meeting. Jeez, everybody's so excited, I don't know why. Motion is made and seconded to adjourn the annual town meeting at 9:58 p.m. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We are adjourned from the annual town meeting. We now jump directly into the special town meeting, which I will call to order as soon as I find the paper that I wrote the stuff down on. Here it is, okay. The appointed hour having arrived and a quorum being present, it being 9:58 p.m., I will now call the special town meeting to order. I will ask the town clerk to come forward to read the warning and the return.
Warrant for the special town meeting, Town of Freetown, Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Monday, June 7th, 2021, 7 p.m. Aponequid Regional High School Gymnasium, 100 Howland Road, Lakeville, Massachusetts, 02347. Bristol County. To either of the constables of the Town of Freetown, greeting. In the name of the Commonwealth, you are hereby required to notify and warn the inhabitants of the Town of Freetown who are qualified to vote in the elections and town affairs to meet at Aponequid Regional High School, 100 Howland Road, Lakeville, Massachusetts, on Monday, the 7th day of June, 2021, at 7 p.m. And you are hereby directed to serve this warrant by posting attested copies thereof at the following places: the Assonet Post Office, the East Freetown Post Office, Junior's Convenience Store at Assonet, the Freetown Town Hall, the Freetown Communication Center, and Freetown Fire Rescue Station number 3. Hereof fail not, and make return of the original warrant with your doings thereon immediately after making service thereof to the town clerk of the Town of Freetown, Massachusetts. Given under our hands and seal of the Town of Freetown this 19th day of May, Anno Domini 2021. We are aware that there was an error in the printing of the warrant, and that correction has been made. Signed, the Town of Freetown Board of Selectmen, Trevor R. Matthews, George L. Grunwald, Jared C. Zager. To the Town Clerk of Freetown, Town of Freetown, Massachusetts, May 19th, 2021. I have this day posted attested copies of this warrant in the designated places described herein. In Assonet, the Assonet Post Office, Junior's Convenience Store, and the Freetown Town Hall. In East Freetown, the East Freetown Post Office, Fire Station number 3, and the Freetown Communication Center. Signed, Carlton E. Abbott, Jr., Constable.
Okay, and again, this is a continued meeting. It was posted for the high school and it was moved here for the air conditioning. From the number of papers I see blowing around just in the back corner right now, I'm guessing that we might as well have stayed put. But that's okay. We do appreciate the school did do their best to accommodate us tonight and on very short notice. Once again, if you have a cell phone, please make sure it's still on silent. If you come to the microphone, wait to be recognized before speaking. Have your we're on to the other vote ticket now. And all of the articles, and thank God there are only 5 of them, will be funded from free cash unless otherwise specified. Article 1, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds the sum of $27,832.05 in the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund for the purpose of paying 2 prior fiscal year bills, to be funded from certified retained earnings of the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Water and Sewer Commissioners. It requires a 9/10 vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article. Motion is made and seconded to adopt Article 1. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 1 is adopted unanimously. Article 2, to see if the town will vote to appropriate in the general fund from free cash the sum of $900 for the purpose of funding an unpaid employee health insurance stipend covering the period of October 2018 through June 2019, or take any other action relative thereto. This was submitted by the treasurer. It requires a 9/10 vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article. Motion is made and seconded to adopt Article 2. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 2 is adopted unanimously. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to amend Article 6, Section 6.1 of its general bylaws relative to the members of the Soil Conservation Board by striking the 2nd and 3rd paragraphs and inserting in place thereof the following sentence. Effective July 1st, 2021, the Conservation Commission shall serve as the Soil Conservation Board and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Conservation Commission. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee takes no position on this article. Motion is made and seconded to accept Article 3. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Article 3 is adopted unanimously. Article 4, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate and/or transfer from available funds a sum of money to pay for tree maintenance or removal in several cemeteries and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Cemetery Commission. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article and that it be funded in the amount of $1,500. Motion is made and seconded to adopt this article and fund it at $1,500. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 4 is adopted unanimously. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to transfer from free cash the sum of $38,781. I know it's blank, but that number got filled in ahead of time. For the purpose of supplementing the capital stabilization fund and/or take any action relative thereto. This was submitted by the Board of Selectmen. It requires a majority vote. The Finance Committee recommends this article and that it be funded at $38,781. Motion is made and seconded to adopt Article 5 in that amount of $38,781, which again is being transferred from free cash. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Article 5 is adopted unanimously. Motion to adjourn, someone. Second, third, 25th, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Discussion. Tim is opposed to going home. Everybody else wants to get out of here, so we're adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you all for sticking it out tonight.